you make a decision knowing fully well that there are higher chances of that decision not being the best for you, yet you still go ahead to make that choice, right? Maybe for some reasons, for one reason or the other. It could be due to fear of loneliness, fear of missing out. It could be due to pressure, societal pressure, peer pressure. It could be due to youthful exuberance, those things you do when you're still young and you feel like you can get away with those things, but deep down that the consequences of that decision may not be good for you, but yet somehow you still go ahead to make that decision. Let's give a practical example. Maybe you're at a friend's party and they're telling you to have a smoke, and you do that just because you want to feel among. Deep down that, they say it all the time that smokers are liable to die young and smokers are prone to certain diseases. But because you just want to feel among, you just take that smoke. Somehow, if that habit is not checked, it becomes an addiction, right? But the moment you took that decision, you knew, or somehow you were aware of the consequences. But youthful exuberance, it could be fear of missing out. Or let's say, you're with a guy, you're dating someone who always makes you feel less of yourself, that, abusive in one way or the other. But because of the financial privileges or the financial assistance that you get from that person, somehow you still decide to go ahead with that relationship, knowing fully well that a little here, a little there, you end up losing your self-worth, So there are times that, yes, we make decisions that we know that are not, the best for us. We go ahead with those decisions. And there are also times that we try all our best, we plan, we do everything within our power, but somehow because we cannot predict the future, we end up making a mistake, right? Now, this video is not about reminding you of your mistakes or focusing on the mistakes, because fortunately, mistakes does not equate to failure in life. However, repeating the same mistakes over and over again can leave a scar, and it can do something to your own self-esteem and your self-worth. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 practical steps to take, or 5 practical things that you need to do to bounce back and get your life together even after making a mistake, okay? Perhaps after watching this video, you will gain all the courage that you need to take that bold step to get back up and reinvent yourself. So please, if you're interested, definitely keep watching. Hello beauties, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Yemi, and this channel is all about inspiring you to own your life, live up to your potentials, and to be your best self. So thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you watch the video to the end, and I also hope that you go ahead and check all the other videos on my channel to have an idea of what I do on the channel. And don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Turn on your bell notification so that the moment I drop a video, you get notified. Thank you. All right, so let's get into the video of today. So one thing I've learned over time is that when you actually make the mistake, that is not when you realize that you've actually made a mistake. It could be in the nearest future. Like, it is not at that moment that you realize that, oh, I've made a mistake. It's until when you see, when the consequences, when the results, when the outcome of that decision begins to show, that's the moment you realize that, oh, I think I've made a mistake. So it's not always at the point that you make that decision that it feels like you've made a mistake, right? So I need to put that out there, right? So this is like, so that this video makes more sense, because these are the things that you do the moment you realize that I have made a mistake, the moment that the consequences, the result, the outcomes begins to show face. These are the things that you need to do so that you can get back on track, so that you don't make a mistake to cover a mistake and then make another mistake to cover a mistake, and it becomes a chain of mistakes, okay? So yes, let me just go ahead with the points, right? So the first thing I'm going to say is to be in a place or a space of confinement, and that could be physical or it could be mental, okay? What I'm just saying is to be in that space that you can actually analyze everything that has happened, to ask yourself, how did I get here? And a lot of times when we actually begin to, this is something that happens, when you feel like, oh, something is not right with you, you begin to ask yourself, like, how did I get here? Oh, how did I get into this mess? Yes, it's very important to ask yourself that question, and do not be in a rush to have that figured out. Do not be in a rush, do not be in a haste to just solve the problem and then get it over with. And I know this can be very difficult, it can be very challenging, because nobody wants to be uncomfortable, nobody wants to be in a sad state. You just want to be happy, you just want to get it over with and go back to that happy state. But the truth is that you actually need to know how you got there. You need to know the details, because sometimes you assume that it is this thing that I did that led me to this point. However, when you look at it, you realize that that is not even the main reason why you got yourself in this mess, right? It could be something that you did to support that decision. It could be other things. But when you actually stay in that place of confinement, really ask yourself, oh, how did I get here? What happened? What led me here? At what point did this decision become a mistake? Like, what are the things that I did? What are the things that aided it? You really want to know everything, and you need to be in that place of confinement. Already, that decision has put you in a place where you're very uncomfortable, and to get out of it, you actually need to settle down and figure out how to get out. Stay in that place of confinement to actually figure out what is the next step to take to get out of that fix. All right, the next thing I would say is to acknowledge your actions. Okay, acknowledge your actions. Do not put the responsibility on another person. Do not shift the blame on another person, because I know that this is something that we are all prone to doing. You know, let's say you cheat, you say, oh, she made me cheat, or he made me cheat. Or let's say you did not pass an exam, you say the teacher did not give me the score I was supposed to get, right? You know, we do that a lot. Or if not because I'm still living in this country, or if not because my boss is very bossy, or if not because my friends are not understanding, they are not caring, you know, if not because my parents did not do this for me, if not because, you know, we just find a way to shift the blame and shift responsibility. But the truth is, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the situation, regardless of what people made you do, you still made that choice to go ahead and follow their advice, right? Which is why I always recommend that, you know, regardless of what people tell you, take your time to analyze all the information that you're getting, right? But like I said, mistakes happen in life because nobody knows tomorrow. So even when you begin to experience the outcome of the decision you make and it turns out to be a mistake, don't go ahead and pour the responsibility on other people. Don't pour it on your circumstances. Don't pour it on the situation surrounding how you made that decision. It just happens like that because we are limited as human beings, right? So just accept your responsibility. Accept your role, okay? Accept your outcome, your actions that led to that mistake that you have made. Don't shift the responsibility because you're just stalling the things that you need to do, right? Just accept that, yes, I did this. And I'm not saying to the point that you begin to feel terrible about yourself, that you're too critical of yourself, that you don't forgive yourself. I'm saying that you need to acknowledge your actions so that you are able to forgive yourself, right? After you must have, you know, figured out what led to that point. Oh, it was because I made this decision to stay in this relationship. That is why I'm now hurt. That is why I'm jilted. You know, that is why this has happened. Okay, so accept that responsibility. All right, please, I do want to apologize in advance for the change in lighting in this video. That's because I'm using natural light, and if you've been following my channel, you would know exactly why I'm using natural light at the moment. I recently moved and some of my things are in transit, which includes my light. So please, I do apologize in advance for that, all right? Thank you. The next thing I would say is to let go of the guilt that you feel and the shame that you feel, okay? Let go of guilt and shame that comes as a result of the mistake that you have made, right? Because the moment a decision turns to be a mistake, you're the first person to be very critical of yourself, and that comes with guilt. You begin to feel like, oh, if I had not done this. You begin to feel like, oh, if only I was smart enough to be more careful, you know. You're just very critical of yourself, and this is something I've experienced myself. I remember when I made a decision that later on turned out to be a mistake. I was so angry with myself for being that silly. Like, I remember being so self-critical that it got to a point that I started to question my own ability. I started to think, I was telling myself that it was because I thought highly of myself. I was telling myself it was because I was too proud. You think you cannot do this. Like, I was saying hurtful things to myself, thinking that I was like, I just felt like, why would you put yourself in this mess? After, I just felt like I let my guard down, and I'm someone that on a good day, I don't let my guard down. Like, I'm always on guard, you know. I'm always on guard, and then I made this decision, and then it turned out to be a big mistake, and I was just so, like, I was so critical of myself. Like, I really don't want to even remember how I was terribly hurt, the things I said to myself, and that was just because I was feeling this kind of guilt that you should know better. And I remember that when I was making that decision, like I kind of knew that somehow this thing may not turn out well, but somehow I was like, you know what, let me just go with the flow. Like I said, sometimes youthful exuberance can make us make certain mistakes that, anyway, you get the point. But I was so critical of myself. I felt so guilty. Like the guilt I felt was so bad. I said hurtful things to myself. I couldn't even believe that this was me, And then I started to think about how other people saw me. I started to feel like people would start saying like, oh, after all you said, after all you've been very, see you, no, look at you now, see? I just felt this heavy shame. I couldn't even say anything. Like, I felt so bad. Like, I cannot even explain it. I felt so bad. The guilt, the shame was a lot that if I just focus on that guilt and shame, I don't even think I would learn the lesson that was attached to that situation and move on. And that didn't even mean that I did not make any other mistake in my life, It didn't mean that, but I learned from that situation to not think that I'm above mistake, to not think that certain things cannot happen to me, to do the best I can do at every time, but then know that certain things can still happen. And then every time my gut tells me not to do something, I should not do it, But that guilt and the shame at first did not even make me learn the lesson. I felt like I let myself down. So it happens to everybody. Like, you might feel like you let yourself down. You might feel like you were stupid for making that decision. The way we say hurtful and terrible things to ourselves when we are feeling ashamed of ourselves, And then when people start to put their mouth in that situation and saying, oh, but we told you, but you knew this. Didn't you see? And don't you know that he's abusing you? Why didn't you just leave? Then you begin to feel that shame. The shame that wouldn't allow you to move forward. Please let go of the guilt. Let go of the shame. Don't worry about what other people are saying. It will pass. It will pass. People will keep talking if you don't pick yourself up. They will talk for that moment that you have let yourself down. Forget about it. You focus on yourself, okay? Forgive yourself. I had to choose forgiveness. I had to forgive myself for that mistake that I made and then learn from it and then move on, okay? So you need to choose forgiveness. Forgive yourself, okay? Even if other people don't forgive you, forgive yourself. Of course, God has forgiven you because He's a merciful God. He has forgiven you. But choose forgiveness. Forgive yourself. The terrible things you're saying to yourself will not help. So let go of the guilt. Let go of the shame. And I know that I'm saying a lot concerning this point. And because this is one thing that holds a lot of people down. That makes you settle, stay in that mess and be like, okay, the shame. And then you realize that a lot of people they use some kind of cover up to cover the shame. That's why you see some people becoming more like, how do I put this? They use the word that's coming to my head is they use ogboju, like they use strong head, they use strong mind to kind of cover up their mistake. And that's when you see some people becoming very hard. Before you say A, you become very defensive. Yes, you become very defensive, that before somebody say this to you, you're at alert because you already know that you let yourself down. And so you don't want anybody to pour blame on you, and then you become too defensive. And somehow it makes you not teachable. It makes you closed, right? I hope this is coming out the right way. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. Just let go of the guilt. There's no need to put up a facade. There's no need to use anything to cover up. People make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. It's a part of life. It's part of life. That's why I said mistakes does not equate to failure. The moment you get yourself together, you get back up, you are a winner already. For doing that, it takes strength, it takes courage to get yourself back up. Okay, so let go of the guilt, let go of the shame. Don't focus on the blame, just focus on being a better person. Focus on living the rest of your life the right way. Okay, so that's the next thing I would say. Now, the next thing I would say is to count the cost or the consequences, right? count the cost or the consequences of that mistake, right? Like I said, it starts with the decision. The decision did not turn out well. It turns out to be a mistake. And then because of that mistake, there are some consequences. There is a cost. It has cost you something, right? You want to count the cost. You want to know what you're left with, right? Let's say, for example, you entered into a relationship. It turned out to be an abusive one. Somehow you separated. And this is something that you never want to do. Like, nobody wants separation, right? Nobody wants separation. Nobody wants to feel rejected. Nobody wants to feel that shame, you know? Anyway, I'm just using that as an example. Your case might be different. It might be something different. Maybe you made a mistake at your workplace and then it cost you your job. You know, that is a cost, right? Maybe you made a mistake at work that made you lose your integrity. That is a consequence, you know? Just count the cost or the consequences. Are you a baby mama now? Because you decided to go on in that relationship. Now you had the baby. Now the guy decided not to take responsibility. Has that cost you your time, your education? What is the consequences? What is the cost of that mistake? You want to count it. And you want to be aware of it, right? I'm not saying you should count it 1, 2, 3, but I'm just saying you want to be aware of the consequences. Like, what has this thing left me with? Where am I now? Okay, it's very important to be aware of it because awareness leads to growth, right? Awareness leads to improvement, right? I know this can be very difficult. This can be challenging to begin to remember those terrible things and the outcome of that mistake. It can be very challenging, but it's something that you need to do. It's a hard truth that you need to accept, okay? So just lay it out. Where are you now? Okay, now you have kids, now you're a single mother, or now you're a baby mama, or now you've lost your integrity, or now you've lost your source of livelihood, or now you've lost friends, or now you're no longer where you need to be. You know, what are the costs? What are the consequences? Because that is how you will have your fresh start, okay? Because when you know the things that it has cost you, then you know how to level up. You know how to pull yourself back up. You know the things you need to do. I remember seeing this lady, Chanel Ambrose, on YouTube. She's a very big YouTuber, or she has been doing YouTube for, I think, 10 years now. And I remember the very first video that I saw from her, like some years back. She had she dated a guy, and somehow she had a child as a result of that. And the guy, of course, did not take responsibility. She couldn't go to the school. Her parents were very disappointed in her. And then the child now turned out to be an autistic child. So not only did she have this responsibility of raising a child at, I think she was 21 or 22, but the child also had special needs, and she had to learn to grow up. And she realized that she did not have any money. Like, she didn't have money. So she had to think quickly that, what can I do? I need to take care of this child. And immediately she realized that she could learn how to do makeup. She started to do makeup, and somehow she started to do YouTube. And somehow, if you look at her now, like, I'll put the link of her channel, I'll put the name of the channel here. If you look at her now she has a big house, she's living well, she's married, she has a husband, she has another child, she's living life, and she's very happy. But she had to get to that point that she had to ask herself, what has this thing left me with, so that she could move forward. So I'm not saying she calculate the cost or count the consequences just so that you feel down. No, I'm saying so that it will be a starting point for you to move forward, okay? And then the last thing I want to talk about, the final step you need to do, is to rebuild your life, okay? It's to reinvent yourself. It's to have a fresh start, okay? You have let yourself down. Now it's time to pick yourself back up, which is why I talked about the last point. You know, you need to know the cost, what this mistake has cost you, and the consequences of that, you know, the consequences that, you know, you're facing now, you're experiencing now, so that you can use it as a starting point to move forward, right? You know, so what do I have now? I really don't want to talk a lot on how to rebuild your life, because in my next video, I'm going to talk in details on the things that you need to do to rebuild yourself and have a fresh start. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notification so that when that video drops, you have an idea. I feel like the weather now is terribly dark, and you know, the video doesn't look nice anymore. So I'll do another video on how to rebuild your life, especially when you're starting with nothing, especially when you don't have anything at hand to start with. So yeah, please look out for that video. Subscribe to my channel, turn on your notification bell so that when the video drops, you get notified. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. And if you have any other tip, you're watching this video, you've recovered from a mistake before, if you have any other ideas you want to share, please drop them in the comment section. decision. And if you need help, if you need to talk to someone, again, check the description box. I have an ebook, a perfect guide to help you get back up. It's a perfect guide to regain your freedom, okay? And also, if you need my services, if you need someone to talk to, if you need coaching services, I also have that as well. You find the link in the description box to reach me. And if there's anything you just want to talk to me about, also just check the description box. There are lots of details and resources for you in the description box. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. Please share this video with your friends and loved ones. Click on the like button. Yes, like this video, okay? It's very important because it helps the video to reach a lot more people that actually need the video. All right, thank you so much. As always, you are amazing and I love you all. Bye.